Picture this: you're on vacation in paradise, surrounded by the stunning natural beauty of Hawaii. The islands are interconnected by these short, easy flights, a seamless part of the experience. It's a beautiful day, the kind of day that makes you feel like nothing in the world could go wrong. The sun is shining, the air is warm, and you're flying a few minutes across the water to your next destination. This journey is a routine thousands of people make every single day. But on April 28, 1988, a routine flight would become a moment in aviation history, a testament to human resilience and a story that would change air travel forever. This is the story of Aloha Airlines Flight 243, a plane that was on a seemingly ordinary flight from Maui to Honolulu. This day, a simple journey would transform into a harrowing fight for survival, a moment where the limits of a machine and the courage of its crew would be tested in an extraordinary way. Kahului Airport on Maui is a busy hub connecting the islands. The aircraft for Flight 243 was a Boeing 737-200, a familiar sight in the Hawaiian skies. It had a seasoned crew: Captain Robert Shorn Steimer, a veteran pilot, and First Officer Madeline Mimi Tompkins, an experienced co-pilot. The cabin crew, led by the purser, were preparing for a quick and easy flight to Honolulu. The 90 passengers on board were a mix of locals, tourists, and business travelers. The weather was clear, the takeoff was normal, and the initial ascent was smooth. Everything seemed perfectly routine. The Boeing 737 reached its cruising altitude of 24,000 feet. The seatbelt signs had been switched off, and the flight attendants were beginning their beverage service. And then, without any significant warning, the unimaginable occurred. Passengers and crew reported a loud whooshing sound, followed by a deafening bang. In an instant, a large section of the forward fuselage, stretching about 18 feet long, explosively separated from the aircraft. The force of the decompression was immense. Passengers in the front few rows were instantly exposed to the open sky, the roaring wind, and the shockingly thin cold air of the upper atmosphere. Debris swirled through the cabin. The noise was overwhelming, making communication nearly impossible. For those who witnessed it, the sight of the blue sky where the roof had been was both surreal and utterly terrifying. Inside the cabin, a chaotic scene unfolded. Flight attendants were thrown to the floor by the sudden pressure change. Tragically, one flight attendant, Clarabelle CBE Lansing, who was near the forward section, was violently ejected from the aircraft. The remaining flight attendants, though injured, immediately sprang into action, their training kicking in amidst the chaos. They crawled through the debris strewn aisle, tending to the injured and trying to keep terrified passengers calm. Passengers, some injured by falling debris or the force of the decompression, clung to the seats, witnessing the unbelievable damage to the aircraft around them. The wind whipped through the open fuselage, creating a constant deafening roar. In the cockpit, Captain Schornsteimer and First Officer Tompkins were facing an equally terrifying situation. The explosive decompression had filled the cockpit with flying debris, and the wind noise was so intense that they could barely hear each other or the radio. The structural integrity of the aircraft was severely compromised, and the flight controls were likely damaged. Despite the overwhelming circumstances, the pilots remained remarkably calm and focused. Captain Schornsteimer immediately took the controls, fighting to maintain altitude and airspeed. Their first priority was to declare an emergency and attempt to return to Maui. Communicating with air traffic control was a struggle due to the noise and potential damage to the radio equipment. They had to rely on instinct and their extensive training to fly a plane that was literally falling apart. The pilots began a rapid descent, the only way to get to a survivable altitude. They faced numerous challenges. The flight control was sluggish and unresponsive. They had no way of knowing the full extent of the structural damage or how the aircraft would behave. Adding to the difficulty, the landing gear indicator lights were not functioning, leaving them uncertain if the landing gear would even deploy. Captain Sean Steimer and First Officer Tompkins knew that a high speed emergency landing on a compromised aircraft was incredibly risky. Every decision had to be precise, every action carefully considered. Their skill and composure under unimaginable pressure were the only things standing between the passengers and a desperate end. Against all odds, the pilots managed to guide the crippled Boeing 737 back towards Kahului Airport. The approach was tense and fraught with uncertainty. They had to visually assess their altitude and speed, relying on their experience rather than faulty instruments. As they neared the runway, the wind roared through the gaping hole in the fuselage. The pilots executed a remarkably smooth landing, considering the horrific damage to the aircraft. The moment the wheels touched down, a collective gasp of relief swept through the remaining passengers and crew. The plane shuddered and rolled to a stop on the runway. An unbelievable sight. A plane with a massive section of its roof missing, but intact enough to land safely. As the aircraft came to a halt, emergency services rushed to the scene. The evacuation was a chaotic but ultimately successful effort. Out of 95 people on board, there was one fatality and numerous injuries. The investigation that followed was a pivotal moment for the aviation industry. Through careful examination, experts determined that the aircraft's operational history had contributed to the event. The combination of frequent short haul flights and repeated pressurization cycles over many years in a tropical marine environment had impacted the fuselage's structure. This incident prompted a greater understanding of how these factors influence an aircraft's long term integrity. The story of Flight 243 remains a testament to the incredible skill and courage of the pilots. Captain Robert Shorns Timer and First Officer Madeline Tompkins, whose actions undoubtedly saved the lives of the majority of those on board. The insights gained from this incident led to significant changes in aircraft inspection and maintenance procedures worldwide, ensuring greater safety for all travelers. It's a tale of survival against impossible odds and a defining moment that helped advance the safety of modern aviation.